Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Awake in the World. We are live right now on the 7th month, the 8th day in the 2021st year, AD, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Today, we stand for change, right here on the Awake in the World channel, live with, I don't know, pick somebody. It's it's really funny, it it it, it it's such an amazing juxtaposition. And as I've always said, everything in this relative universe is relative. when when faced with the absolute and faced with the relative, even that in the relative universe has this sort of yin yang push pull where I will flip from extreme humor and full awareness of the oneness and wholeness and utter safety of all of us, and in the other minute, be that human being again who's very passionately trying to make people aware with the idea of preserving life and stopping unnecessary suffering. And I guess that's what it really comes down to, because I've been looking at this a lot, and there's been a lot of alarm bells going off for me for a number of years, as you all know, and I've been, talking about it since 3 years ago, and basically saying, okay, this is the first 5 year stretch that's really gonna, is supposed to really hopefully wake humanity right up. And 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022. And then we're going to enter this next window where the changes are going to even accelerate. And that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about standing for change and understanding what change is and understanding what standing for change is instead of standing up against things. And this is really, really, really important. So, as always, let me express my love for each and every one of you. No matter what's happening right now, you're in the ideal space to grow and evolve from what's going on. And each of us has an amazing opportunity. I'm never about doom and gloom. I'm always about, the way things are. And yet at the same time, we have this magnificent opportunity that's given to us, and it's the same opportunity we're given in every moment of every day. And that is to choose anew, to choose afresh, or to choose to keep choosing the same thing, or to choose to do nothing or not choose, which is still a choice. You can't escape it. So we're going to start by defining change so we all understand change. Change really is synonymous for life. Change is meaningless in comparison to the word life as far as everything it encompasses, but change is right in there with life. Life itself is never-ending change. It is a process that has never stopped since the moment before you were born, the moment of conception. There's been nothing but change happening from the moment that cell was fertilized. It's nothing but change, 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 change. And it's that way until the day you die and afterwards. Even after you are gone and you're done and you leave the vessel here, that vessel will continue to change and continue to change and go on changing. For everything here in the physical realm, which is really just an energetic realm that we define as physical because it seems to be that way, and it makes a little more sense for us to discuss, matter and energy without getting into the reality that matter doesn't really matter because matter is just energy of a different vibrational state, let's say. when we're looking at life, we realize that change isn't something that is coming. Change is always underway. And in that way, human beings, especially stuck in our egoic sense of self, we tend to behave very much. And I'm just going to adjust my chair here to try and kind of keep there's a lot of light going on back there. We behave very much like the frog placed in cool water in a pot and placed on the stove. If you heated the water up too fast, the frog would figure it out and jump out. But if you just inch up the temperature a tiny little bit at a time, maybe talk to the frog, engage in conversation, tell him about your day, inquire about his day as you're slowly increasing the temperature. That frog will stay right there and allow itself to be boiled to death. That's really on so many levels. Can't believe the irony of that. I didn't even do that on purpose, But basically, human beings are about to be boiled to death. Oh man, it's too funny on the one hand, and yet at the same time, it's so serious. It really is. And so we understand change has never stopped. It never will stop. And the only thing change can do is accelerate and slow down. We can call that, the rhythm of the situation or the rhythm of life. Or the rhythm, and it isn't like a whole field. It is a whole field, but at the same time, you can have various rhythms within various quadrants or parts of that life. And right now, here on Earth, due to what we've chosen since the Industrial Revolution, along with a bunch of other factors, and realistically, it's really not worth arguing the point because we're faced with the evidence right here in front of us right now. We are facing change that's always been going on, but definitely appears to be accelerating. And it isn't that it appears to be accelerating, it is. So just a couple things before we go further on when we're talking about change. Okay, so, one of the side effects of the giant heat wave along the coast was to literally fry in their shells roughly 1 billion shellfish and starfish and other really essential organisms along the coastlines. Now, that has literally shut down the shellfish industry over a 700 kilometer stretch here in British Columbia. Those invertebrates are water filters. They clean the water. They refresh and purify things. The change is accelerating. They found that the glaciers in BC and Alberta actually warmed and melted, 3 times faster during the whole of the heat wave, which, by the way, is still considered to be on right now. The temperatures are still far above normal, and there is no rain in sight. This is an accelerating change. And there is so much in us that resists that change. And we're going to talk about why ego resists change and why we are where we are. Definitely that whole frog boiling in the pot analogy is responsible for a good chunk or a good percentage of why we haven't really done anything and why we're so resistant to change. Whatever's right in front of us tends to garner our attention the most. And if we're not being affected in some way, well, we can kind of shut our eyes to the change going on for a short period of time. But egoically, the ego reaches the state of where it feels it's about as safe as it's going to get. I've got the house, I've got the money, I've got the air conditioning, I've got the car, I've got the other toys. And I feel safe, and I don't want things to change. In other words, to change would mean potentially feeling unsafe. And yet, change is life, and everything is bound to change. And it is that resistance to life, that resistance to change itself, that has left the entirety of societies all over the planet, ours included, still talking like there's actually time left. The change is accelerating. And we have to accept on that level that change has always been occurring. It's not that the climate is going to change, it's the climate is in the process of changing, and that changing has sped up incredibly fast. And I read reports today on a loss of 50% or better of the canola crop because the heat has forced the canola crop to flower far too early, and those flowers are falling off, and there's not enough time for the seeds that fill with the oil to manifest and be harvested. They're talking roughly a 60% loss. Wheat in Manitoba right now and other parts of Saskatchewan, Alberta, up to a 50% loss. The forest fires in BC alone have already caused a huge interruption to the train freight system, which is part of our supply chain. This is, change that's speeding up. And we have really one of two choices in this situation. We can stand there and say that no, change isn't happening. No, things are going to go back to the way it was. Or we can accept right here, right now, that we need to stand for this change. We need to open our eyes to the change around us and stop resisting it, but instead pay attention. They're looking at the village of Lytton, which just burned down again. And I say again because it's happened 3 times in recent memory alone. And it is in a tinder dry area. And people are questioning whether they can even rebuild there. So you shunt, 1,000 people or 2,000 people somewhere else. Well, somewhere else isn't going to be safe for long either these days. But in order to ride the wave of change, which we are clearly on, this is like the river of life at this point in humanity's journey, becoming swollen and overfilled as all that glacier melt accelerates and heads our way. And we are being offered an opportunity that this isn't to buffet us and throw us over the edge of the river to the side or destroy us in any way at all. It's meant to tear our hand away from the bank of the past, to tear us away from the old ways of behaving that got us here, the old ways of building, the old ways of thinking, the old ways of interacting with each other, the old ways of interacting with this world. Life itself, change itself, is doing everything it can out of a deep love and compassion for all of us to tear us away from there. And if we try to hold on, if you've ever surfed or been in a situation where you've been out of the water and you try to resist that wave, it really doesn't end well. I speak from a lot of experience with that. Yeah, my back has the memory of a lot of black coral I've been scraped over and pounded on, and the scars to prove it. The point is this wave can be ridden. This is what it means to stand for change. It means to stop standing for the things that you don't want to see anymore and start standing for the things that you do wish to see. And what does standing for something mean? It means thought, word, and deed in a straight line and projecting that outward from your being, encouraging others to come along with you or work with you, or at least start their own standing for change. But every day that we choose to behave the same way again, every day that we follow the same old mind-numbing, world-killing habits that we've engaged in over and over and over again, all we're really doing is resisting change. We try, it's really funny to me that there is no ostrich in history, except for Bugs Bunny, that's ever stuck its head in the sand. But we sure do. The vast majority of the human race has its head stuck so deeply in the sand that it's suffocating itself quite literally. And it's time we pull our heads out. It's time we stop resisting what's going on and look around us and out of faith, let go of the bank and start paying attention to what our planet is telling us. Our world knows how to keep its loved ones safe. That's us. That's the trees, that's the fish, that's the frogs, that's the animals that roam the earth, that's the plants, that's all of it. We are the dysfunctional element right now. And it is really simple. We just have to look at nature and do what she does. Listen to what she says. Operate in that manner. And the same thing applies to our lives. Whenever, and we're going to go right down to the microcosm in here, right down to your life today. If you look at your life today, since the moment that one cell became fertilized, you've been going through glorious change after glorious change. And those changes, we talk to people all the time, and everybody, ourselves included, find that time just appears to be racing into the future. Minutes are passing by as seconds, hours disappear in a heartbeat. I said to Kelly this afternoon, it's 2:45. I thought I just woke up. Yeah, some, 6 a.m. this morning, some 8 hours ago. But we're at this micro level, the level of ourself. There comes a point in our life where we begin to view change or life, because they're synonymous anyways, and we do it unconsciously even, that somehow change is a bad thing. And we unconsciously hold on to that, and we forget that when we're really honest with ourselves, all the changes in our lives, no matter how we've judged them, have actually ended up benefiting us. We're still here right now. We're alive right now. We have a roof over our heads right now. I have a level of awareness that has made me aware of the acceleration of this change and the reason for it, the love behind it. Everything on this planet is speeding up. The disparity, the amount of people who are going to be food insecure is going to grow rapidly. There's going to be half the crops available. All over the Okanagan, the fruit crop has been decimated. We don't have the pure numbers yet, but it's looking at the 30 to 45% mark. This, with the supply chain issues caused by the forest fire and everything else, are going to drive prices up. And this isn't just here. This isn't a macrocosm of it. This is a microcosm of a larger macrocosm. And you are part of that too. And when change comes into your life, you can't stop it. You got to stop resisting it. You have to learn to embrace it, because really, embracing it is all you have. And if you understand that change as the same gift that life is, because it's synonymous with life, and you can hold that in your mind with a deep sense of faith that you are indeed truly loved in a universe with purpose. You can see this accelerating change for what it is. An opportunity for humanity to wake up. To wake up and stop resisting change. To stop standing against change and instead stand for change. To begin to make the necessary adjustments within ourselves and the way we think and the way we behave. And the realization that it's really going to take all of humanity working in concert. But this is a wonderful opportunity in every moment of your life where change is offered to you, and that's the gift. It's offered to you in every moment. You can choose again. When it comes to our environment, the time for choosing always exists. But there are consequences with every choice, and those consequences are natural. Life has been warning us for quite a while about this. Just as life reminds us as individuals that the changes that need to occur to us, if we stop resisting them, even if we can't see it in this moment, we will soon see the love and the advantage and the growth. It's the same for us as a species. But when we resist the change as individuals, what happens? You know, I like to talk about Shiva, that compassionate, destructive aspect of divinity, because of course, in order to create and keep balance, there must be destruction. And that destruction isn't bad, it's not evil, it's a natural balance. And Shiva, out of great compassion and love, picks up that front-loaded titanium baseball bat and swings it at the back of your head and knocks you down flat. And looking up, you have a whole new view. And if you've already had this happen to your life, and I guarantee you that if you haven't, it probably will. Me, I've been hit so many times that, and luckily I managed to stop at just the right time where I managed to get a good shaped skull, because the one hit prior to that, it didn't look so good. Now it's really humanity's turn where that baseball bat is a little bit larger. and we're going to take a good whack. You know, even as we start new coal-fired plants and continue on our course. This is what resistance to change does. We're the ones who have to stand for the change. We're the ones with all the power. The power is with you. You don't have to worry about what anyone's doing beside you. You just have to choose for you what you want to stand for in the face of the change that we're all facing. And then speak it out and take action. Others will follow the light that you become. And I want you to know it's perfectly okay, just as a single human being may choose to exit this world via suicide and appear to have given up, or appear to have lost it or lost their way. If humanity ends up killing most of itself off through the slow suicide that we're engaging in, there is no judgment, there is no blame, and there is truly no loss, and everything will still be made perfect. But as always, this is the lesson. You know, a lot of people say to me, you know, I just wish something would happen. Well, we are the something that can happen. And we need to have billions of happenings, billions of awakenings on the planet. So I'd ask that you take a moment, if you would, and just join me in a brief moment of guided prayer for humanity. You know, all of us sitting there eye to eye at the same table. A table with no head. A table where all of us understand our infinite equality. No one any more, no one any less. Every creature, every plant, every person, an opportunity for holy communion with that divine mind that creates and manifests all of it, ourselves included. I pray that humanity see the light and stop resisting the change that we're being offered. We don't stand to lose anything at all except to lose those things which hold us back. I pray that every person realize this in their own life. That change is only and forever always out of love, as change is synonymous with life itself. And life is love expressed divinely. Much love to each of you. Much love to the planet that sustains us. Much love for the warnings, much gratitude for the opportunity we have to change and grow right now, to embrace change, to look forward at the same time as we see the lessons behind us, to leave a world and a new way of thinking that our children will benefit and grow from as they lead the future and we disappear with the past. Namaste to each of you. Much love. You are deeply cared for. That's it. That's all. Have a wonderful night.